Hi, everybody. My name is Tyler House. I am a manager in the business advisory services at Richey May, and I really oversee all of our data analytics products, which would include, our quarterly financial and operational benchmarking tool, the HMDA data dashboard, and some of our other data analytics. We do a compensation survey as well, and I just wanted to, say hi. And if you're here for the HMDA Data Analytics webinar, you're at the right place. It looks like most everybody has had a chance to get logged in, and hopefully everybody can see my screen and hear me okay. If you can't, please feel free to send a comment in the chat window. Before we get into kind of the meat of the webinar, I just wanted to mention, we're going to try to save some time at the end for some questions, but feel free to enter any questions you have throughout the webinar, and we'll make sure we can address those. If we don't have time today in the webinar time, we will make sure to reach out and respond to those individually. So with that said, let's kind of get into it. So today we want to highlight really all three of our dashboards that are on our site for our data analytics page, which is new. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to go there, but we're going to briefly highlight those, and then we'll spend a little more time on the HMDA market share dashboard. Anyways, this is our data analytics page. It's accessible from anywhere on our site by clicking on industries or the industry header, then mortgage banking and strategic data analytics. And I want to take a look at some of the other dashboards that we have on this page that we've made available to everybody. That first one being the loan origination trend dashboard. The data set for this dashboard comes from the NMLS, who collects company and loan officer level financial and production data on a quarterly basis. The data is published at an aggregate level for production data only, and it's broken up by state, product, purpose, among other items. All non-federally registered mortgage lending institutions are required to report to the NMLS, which in turn is really a good representation of the independents or the non-depositories in the industry as a whole. The data usually comes out 2 to 3 months after the quarter end, and it's really a great resource for understanding origination trends at a state level, and then you can take that information and track it with your own production trends to just determine if your production channels are in line or out of bounds with some of those state trends and more local trends. The dashboard does allow for a few things. First, you can change the metric on the map that is measured by selecting from the drop-down arrow on the bottom right of that map. I'll go ahead and do that and just move it to purchase originations, and so you can get a feel for how purchase originations have trended at a state level. Second, if you click on a state, you'll be able to see the metrics for that state alone in this chart at the bottom right. So I can select Texas. We can see, the average loan sizes for all these different products and purposes in Texas alone, and we can see how volume has trended quarter over quarter or year over year. We can look at California as another state, or to go back to the nationwide numbers, you just click off of the map. So that's a few things on our loan originations trends dashboard. We also have another dashboard that's based off the MBA's mortgage finance forecast. The MBA publishes this data monthly, and they really look 2 years into the future, and they forecast pretty significant items for our mortgage banking clients, like the 30-year fixed rate, purchase and refi volume, as well as some other construction and housing measures. For our clients, we like to see them use this forecast as part of their budgeting process. For example, the MBA is forecasting that total origination volume is going to drop by 17% in 2017 over 2016 figures. So lenders really need to address this trend in their budgets. Historically, we've known that a lot of our clients, which happen to be mostly independents, don't always trend, very closely to these numbers, but it's certainly something worth addressing in your budget, as we would expect, or at least historically, the MBA has been, fairly accurate in terms of the overall industry and how that's going. The functions of this dashboard are very simple. Basically, the dashboard allows users to graph any of the measures in the charts at the bottom by selecting, a different measure from the drop-down menu. So I'll just change this, and maybe we'll look at the 30-year fixed rate mortgage so we can see, what the forecast is for 2017, and then on a yearly basis, a quarterly basis in the dark blue. Or maybe we want to look at the refinance share. So that's how that works. It's pretty simple, but we just wanted to create a more meaningful way to digest this information, when it comes out, when it's made available. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. Let's get back to kind of the topic of the HMDA data. Much is said about the HMDA data in terms of being compliant with how you're reporting it, but comparatively, there's really little said about how powerful the HMDA data is as a business intelligence tool. We've been working with it for a couple of years now, and we've learned a few things about it along the way. First, the data is extremely comprehensive. For the most part, if a lending institution originated 100 mortgage loans in the previous year, or if they had 10 million in assets, including parent company assets, as of the previous December 31, then the institution is required to report all mortgage applications taken, and they're reporting that to the HMDA. In general terms, this includes every single player in the industry, along with many of the non-players who originate just a few loans here and there. So the data set is very comprehensive. Some of the prominent data fields reported on include originating lender, loan product, purpose, and loan amount, geographies such as state, county, metro area, and census tract, and then borrower information as well, like income, ethnicity, and race. And as many of you will know, the CFPB has approved to add some additional fields to the HMDA reporting. That's going to make this information really that much more powerful. Some of these new fields include FICO, interest rate, origination channel, origination fees, points, and credits. So this level of information on every mortgage application is in many ways incredible when you think about the wealth of information that is available to you on your top competitors, as well as available to your top competitors on you. So I would imagine that this information is really going to drive some greater competition. It's going to incentivize lenders into looking into more M&A activity, in an industry that's already been priming for consolidation activity the last few years. And historically, we've known that many of the big players in the industry are using the HMDA data as a business intelligence tool. In fact, many of them are going to have individuals whose job responsibility includes mining the data for information that is used in managing their business. On the other hand, we are aware that the vast majority of lenders don't typically access the data and bring it into their, strategic planning or decision-making processes. But that's, one of the main reasons that we created or have launched this dashboard, is that so those lenders who may have not had the resources or been able to allocate resources into mining the information can now access it and use the information as a integral part of their business management. So this brings us to our first poll question, which is, has your company utilized the HMDA data as a business intelligence tool in the past? Okay, I don't know if you guys can see some of the results, but I'll go ahead and share it. It looks like people are still reporting, but so it looks like 8% say yes, we use it often. 16% say yes, we use it occasionally. So I guess we're up to about 1/4 of the attendees say they actually use it in some manner. But the rest either said no or I don't know. That's 60% say no. So you know, that's really not a surprise, as you know, that's been consistent with our experience in terms of what it's being used for. So I appreciate you for answering that information. And so for those lenders who are using the data, here's a few of the common topics or areas that they're focusing on with regard to the data. The first piece is fair lending. You know, there are fair lending implications within the data. In fact, originally, you know, the requirement for the HMDA data collection was really focused on fair lending, more specifically redlining. And you know, the CFPB, now that they are taking control of the HMDA, they have publicized that they use the data as a preliminary test to identify lenders who might appear to be redlining in certain neighborhoods. I don't know how much weight the data holds in terms of you know, who gets moved to the top of the CFPB's exam list, but you know, certainly there's much speculation that the added data fields noted earlier in one of the last slides is really going to lead to the CFPB putting more weight on the data from a fair lending perspective. And so this brings us to our second poll question, which is, has your company used the data to analyze fair lending compliance risk? Okay, it looks like most of the answers are coming in. And it looks like, so we have about 55% say yes. So this is something that all of you are probably more aware of in terms of the HMDA data. 24% say no, and then 20% say I don't know. Great, thank you for participating in that. So most of the other uses, they are surrounding really market share, the idea of market share. You know, if asked, most of our clients, they're all going to say that they all want to increase their market share. You know, that's pretty common of the independents, at least attitude. Mathematically, it's not exactly possible for all of them to do it, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. Anyways, in terms of market share, there's really three common applications that can help lenders increase market share. The first one is going to be lenders are able to look at current markets where they have a presence, and they can measure what kind of sales success they have in those certain markets. Second, for lenders looking at moving into new markets, the data allows them to look at many markets and decide which markets to move on based on, you know, the market's overall synergy with their company's strategic goals, product and purpose mix, etc. And then third, lenders can use the data to look for potential M&A partners. You know, they can answer questions like who's going to be a good fit with their company based on, you know, the potential partner's geographic footprint, their purpose and product mix, among certain other items. Okay, so with that, we're going to bring in the dashboard and kind of just do a little bit of a demo of what our dashboard allows the user to do. Make sure we get this censored. Okay. So this is our home page of our HMDA market share dashboard. On this page, the default view will be to look at all the metrics on the page at a nationwide level for all mortgage loan products. So in the top left here, this chart is displaying the market share by lender type over the last 3 years, and the chart below is the same trending chart for the number of lenders who originated at least one mortgage loan during each year. This chart in the middle right, it's just simply the top 40 lenders for 2015. The color of the bar to the right of each lender correlates with the lender's institution type, and then the amount graphed is the market share for that individual lender. As I mentioned, we are currently looking at these metrics at a nationwide level, but we have all these filters on the far right that allow us to slice and dice the data with great detail. So let's start with the geographic filters. I can select one or any combination of these filters to drill down on very specific markets. I'll start by selecting the West Coast for a region, and I'll select California for the state, and how about Alameda County, and then I can look at the metro areas, and maybe I'll select the Oakland metro area. So one thing to note is that the dashboard is going to look at the lowest level of detail for all the filters that you look at. So for instance, we're not looking at data for Alameda County and for Oakland County. We're only looking at data for loans that were inside Alameda County and inside Oakland. So, with that, maybe I just want to look at Oakland alone. I want to include loans that are in Alameda County, but also in Contra Costa County as well. So here I have Oakland, and if this is the market I want to look at, this is great. But the data the data can be sliced and diced at even greater detail. Maybe I want to look at a certain product and purpose. So for this, for the purposes of the demo, I'll select FHA products and purchase loans. So now all the charts are going to be updated for FHA purchase originations inside the Oakland metro area. If I roll over Stearns, I will see that they originated $101 million in Oakland of FHA purchase loans of the total, and that's really good for a market share of 5.236% of all FHA loans in Oakland that originated in 2015. So now that I've gotten the market that I want to examine, I can export data for every lender in this market with a few clicks of a button. First, just click on the bottom right here, click here to export detail, and this will take me to a new page with instructions on how to get this data into Excel. So click inside the table. At the very bottom, click download, select crosstab, and then select download in the pop-up, and this data should automatically download. So again, this table, it's only really only includes the geographic filters, as you will be able to see, all the different products here, as well as the purposes. So let's go back to the home page by clicking on this back button in the bottom right. And so I'm still looking at the Oakland metro area for FHA and purchase products only. But as I'm looking at this chart, maybe I want to understand some more details on some of the top 40 lenders. For instance, Bank of California might catch my attention, and I might want to look closer at them specifically. You can do this in our dashboard. To do so, just click on Bank of California, wait a moment, and then click on Click Here for more info. And this will take us to a page that gives us details on Bank of California, specifically nationwide. And so in this map, this is Bank of California's, really it's kind of their geographic footprint. The color is indicative of the concentration of their total volume. So if I hover over the Los Angeles metro area, I can see that 31% of Bank of California's total origination volume in 2015 was located in this metro area. Now we also have a bunch of charts at the bottom here where we can look at purpose mix, product mix, volume, and market share. And again, the default is to show these graphs at a nationwide level, but we can drill down on any of the metro area markets displayed in this map. So for instance, if I want to look at Los Angeles for Bank of California, you simply just click on the Los Angeles metro area, and then I can look at all, I can look at their purpose mix in LA, I can look at their product mix in LA, as well as their volume over the last 3 years and their market share in that specific market. To go back to the nationwide metrics, I simply just click off of that, and we're back here. So once you're on this page, you may want to look at a different lender. You may know the name of the lender off the top of their head, but you can change the lender by just clicking on this drop down, and I'll look up Wells Fargo. And now we should see this data for Wells Fargo. For lenders looking at a potential or looking for potential M&A opportunities, this really is a great way to vet potential partners. You're going to be able to understand the geographic footprint of that lender. You're going to be able to see their product and purpose mix, and you'll be able to make decisions on, if that fits in with your strategic goals when it comes to consolidation. To go back to the home page, you just simply click on this back button, and it'll take us back to this page. The filters that we previously set will be working, and you may want to just start over, and to do so you just simply click reset at the very bottom of the page, and now we're back to the nationwide metrics. So that was kind of just a brief demo of what you're able to do. We hope that that's useful in terms of you guys going to play around it and look at some of these dashboards. But really, we want to mention that this is version 1 of the dashboard for us. We're really eager to get feedback on the usefulness of the dashboard, specifically on what should be added, removed, or adjusted. So at the end of our webinar, there will be a brief survey where you can give us some feedback on some very specific items, as well as anything that you think would be beneficial, and we'd really greatly appreciate any feedback that we can get. So the last part of the webinar today, we just wanted to briefly touch on a few high-level trends that we've seen in 2015. These trends are probably not going to be anything that's groundbreaking in terms of information. I'm sure most of this is stuff that you've maybe heard before. Really, we just want to highlight a few things and then turn it over to you guys to look at these trends in your specific markets that are most relevant to you guys, and certainly that'll be more valuable than this. But anyways, here's kind of the top 4 trends that we noticed looking at the 2015 data compared to the 2014 data. And year-over-year, total production was 33% higher in 2015. The average loan was up to $247,000 in 2015. Compared to $230,000 in 2014. The greatest increase was in FHA volume, which saw a 76% increase year over year, and then additionally refi volume increased by 56% over 2014. In 2015, independents officially passed commercial banks for the largest market share nationwide. And looking at the chart on the right of this page, we can see that independents saw the largest year-over-year increase in production volume of 43% compared to commercial banks with an increase of 25%. When looking at only refis, it's pretty interesting to note that independents' refi volume increased by 71%, compared to commercial banks with an increase of 44% year over year. And then to add to this, independents in 2015 originated the highest share of refis, which is especially interesting since it is usually commercial banks who typically own the refinance market. In total, there was a net decrease in HMDA reporters by 139 lenders, or a decrease of 2%. Over the 2015 totals. All the decreases were among commercial banks, credit unions, and mortgage companies affiliated or owned by banks. And then independents added a net of 28 lenders since 2014. And then to end today's webinar, we put a couple trends by state. On the first page here, we're looking at the highest year-over-year increases in total volume and the highest year-over-year increases in average loan sizes by state. I'll just let that sit for a couple seconds. And by the way, we will forward these the slides here so you can look at these at a later date after the webinar. And then on this page, we're looking at the states with the highest year-over-year increases in FHA volume and refi volume. So again, you know, we just share these high-level metrics to give you a high-level look at the overall trends. But you know, the reason we created our dashboard was to allow you, the user, to look at these trends and much more in the markets that are relevant to you guys, or most relevant to you guys. So now I think we have some time to answer questions. If you have one, now would be a great time to type it into the question dialog box on your screen. You can always email me with any questions as well. So let me just give a brief moment for people to enter. Okay, one question we're seeing is how often is the data come out? So the HMDA data is annual data. It typically comes out, you know, in September, following the year of the actual data. Next question. So one of the questions was, you know, do we include or exclude anything in our data set? And this is actually detailed on one of the notes on the slide that you'll have. But for our dashboard, we are looking only at, you know, what we would call kind of the core mortgage banking products. So we're looking only at first liens. We're looking only at 1 to 4 family. We're looking only at purchases or refis. We don't look at HELOCs. And then, so some of the more prominent things that we exclude, we're excluding manufactured housing or multifamily housing, second liens. I think that's it. One question is how do we get access to the dashboard? Well, the great news is that for the 2015 data, we're going to allow that to be accessible on our website for free for the following year. And so we strongly encourage you to do that, and it's we'll make sure that there's a link in there to our website so that you can get to this site directly. Another question. Other than the main page of the dashboard, is there a way to gain some trending information on other such items similar to what we've provided? So we've actually created an Excel file with some of these trends, looking at it year over year. If you want a copy of that, I'm happy to share that with you. We use it internally, and we may post it on our website at some point. But if you want that, please email me at tyler@richeymay.com. It should be on the webpage as well. If you email that to me directly, I will make sure to send you a copy of that Excel file with more of these trends in here. One question for closing volume in addition to origination volume. So we're typically using the origination volume should be closed volume. There shouldn't be a difference in those terminology in terms of the data on our dashboard. So that won't be an issue. And I think that is it for questions. Like I said, there's going to be a brief survey that will open up after you close the webinar. If you could fill that out, that would be great for us in terms of improving this dashboard and adding you know, meaningful functionality to it that's beneficial to you guys, the user. So again, thanks again for your time.